The legend of the Cherokee outlaw for decades, Johnny Cash was the voice of the American underdog. He cultivated an image as rugged as the Arkansas soil he was born in, often claiming a heritage as deep as the land itself. Cash frequently told the world he was part Cherokee, an identity that seemed to fit his outsider persona. But when his daughter, Rosanne, appeared on the show Finding Your Roots, a bizarre truth came to light that challenged the very foundation of the Cash family legacy. Who was the man behind the black suit? And what other secrets was he hiding from the public eye? Born in the cotton, forged in blood before he was Johnny, he was simply Junior. Cash, born in 1932 in Kingsland, Arkansas. His name was a literal compromise between his mother's love for John and his father's preference for Ray. Life was a struggle from the start. In 1935, the family moved to Dyess, Arkansas, to take part in a federal farming project, where they spent their days picking cotton under the blistering sun. But the music that would eventually define him wasn't born from joy, it was born from a horrific tragedy. When Johnny was young, his closest sibling and best friend, Jack, suffered a catastrophic accident with a table saw. Jack was nearly cut in half and died a week later. The loss shattered Johnny's world. To cope with the grief, he turned to the only thing that offered comfort: gospel music. By the age of 12, taught by his mother and a friend, he was already writing his own songs. The sinful audition at Sun Records. After a stint in the Air Force in West Germany where he met his first wife, Vivian Liberto, Cash returned to America and settled in Memphis. He was selling appliances by day, but his heart was in the studio. He nervously auditioned for Sam Phillips at the legendary Sun Records, pouring his heart into gospel tunes. Phillips wasn't impressed. He reportedly told Cash to go away and come back when you've done some sinning. Cash took the advice to heart. He returned with a rockabilly style, and by 1955, he had his first hits, Hey Porter and Cry, Cry, Cry. Suddenly, the boy from the cotton fields was standing in a room with Elvis Presley, Carl Perkins, and Jerry Lee Lewis. A group later dubbed the $1 Million Quartet. I Walk the Line was written as a promise to remain a faithful husband, but behind the scenes, Cash was already breaking that vow. While his voice preached loyalty, his heart and his actions were drifting toward another singer, June Carter. The Ring of Fire mystery. One of the most debated chapters in Cash's history is the origin of his signature hit, Ring of Fire. While June Carter claimed she was inspired by Elizabethan poetry, Johnny's first wife, Vivian Liberto, dismissed this as a cover story. Liberto claimed the song was actually about a much more intimate anatomical subject. The confusion only deepened years later when co-writer Merle Kilgore attempted to license the song for a hemorrhoid cream advertisement. This distasteful interpretation of the title was ultimately blocked by Carter's heirs, but it added a bizarre footnote to the song's legendary status. The 1965 Inferno and the Buzzards in June 1965. Cash's personal life and his drug use collided in a massive environmental disaster. While camping in Los Padres National Forest, his camper caught fire, sparking a blaze that destroyed several hundred acres. The official story: Cash claimed a spark from his camper caused the fire. The nephew's truth: his nephew, Damon, later revealed that a pill-addled Cash had intentionally lit a fire to stay warm and failed to notice it spreading. The legal fallout: the authorities sued Cash, who eventually settled for $80,000. The Condor incident: when informed that the fire had driven away several endangered California condors, Cash infamously replied that he didn't care about those buzzards, sparking outrage among conservationists. The outlaw image versus the reality. Cash carefully cultivated a bad boy persona, largely fueled by his legendary concerts at San Quentin and Folsom prisons. Critics, including Life magazine writer Al Aronowitz, praised him for singing as if he were one of the inmates. However, the outlaw image was more performance than reality. The lockup truth: Cash never actually served a prison sentence. He never spent more than one night at a time in a jail cell. The flower felony: one of his trespassing arrests occurred simply because he had wandered onto private property to pick flowers. The El Paso bust in Texas: authorities suspected him of smuggling heroin from Mexico, but instead found a personal supply of prescription amphetamines, resulting in a minor penalty. A dangerous backlash: the El Paso arrest had a secondary, darker consequence. When newspapers published photos of Cash with his wife, Vivian Liberto, her Sicilian and African-American ancestry became public. This revelation led to a wave of hate mail and death threats from white supremacists, who targeted the couple for their mixed-race marriage. The road to sobriety: by 1967, Cash had hit rock bottom. After a car accident and another night in jail for possessing prescription pills, a sheriff gave him a stern ultimatum that finally resonated. To ensure his survival, June Carter and her family moved into Cash's estate, staging an intervention to force him into sobriety. The transformation worked. In London, Ontario, Cash proposed to Carter on stage, and they were married just 1 week later in Kentucky. The double betrayal: while the world celebrated the reformed Johnny Cash after his marriage to June Carter, the reality behind closed doors was far darker. Cash struggled to maintain sobriety, and his pill use continued until 1972. Though the birth of his son, John Carter Cash, provided a brief reprieve, his personal life was entangled in a shocking betrayal. While June was pregnant with their son, Johnny reportedly resumed his affair with her sister, Anita Carter. This secret relationship meant he was carrying on with his wife's own sister at the very moment their family was supposed to be starting anew. The Stone censorship battle: in 1969, ABC offered Cash a variety show, but the partnership was fraught with tension. The network pressured him to host Hollywood stars like Bob Hope and Peggy Lee, names that didn't always align with his gritty, counterculture aesthetic. The most famous clash occurred over censorship. When Chris Christopherson appeared as a guest to perform Sunday Morning Coming Down, the network demanded that Cash force him to change the word stoned to something less controversial. Cash, ever the rebel, valiantly refused to bow to the suits, standing by his fellow artist and the authenticity of the song. The cycle of addiction: despite his public image as a man who had conquered his demons, Cash's sobriety was a fragile thing. 1977, he fell off the wagon and returned to heavy amphetamine use, leading to a stay at the Betty Ford Clinic. 1989, after years of struggle, he relapsed into pill popping once again. Final years: his daughter, Rosanne, carried deep resentment for the years he spent on the road rather than at home, though the two managed to repair their bond before his health failed. On September 12, 2003, just 4 months after the death of his beloved June, Johnny Cash died from complications of diabetes. The DNA bombshell: the Cherokee mystery. Perhaps the greatest mystery of Johnny Cash's life was his heritage. Since the late 1950s, Cash had been a vocal advocate for Native Americans, a passion rooted in his firm belief that he had Cherokee ancestry. However, when Rosanne Cash appeared on the television show Finding Your Roots, the truth was finally revealed. The result: the test showed 0 Native American markers. The twist: instead of the Cherokee roots he had claimed for a lifetime, the test revealed distant African roots in the family's past. The flower-picking pardon. In a final, poetic twist to his outlaw legacy, the town of Starkville, Mississippi, decided to address his 1960s arrest. In 2007, the town held the Johnny Cash Flower Picking Festival. They officially honored the man in black and issued a pardon for his original misdemeanor. The night he spent in jail simply for picking flowers on private property.